All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Week 5 of the Fantasy Life. My name's the Big AC, Andy Chevalier, here as always with my partner in crime, the fantasy partner, the fantasy coach, Coach Chris Dacosta. Coach, how'd you do Week 4?
What's going on? So Week 4 was a great week. I killed it in 2 leagues. However, in my main league, once again, 0-4. I lost again in this league. It's killing me.
No, Coach, don't say it ain't so. Say it ain't so.
How'd you do?
Coach, I did all right. I rebounded quite nicely. I don't know if you remember last week, but I did go 1-5, one of the worst ones I ever did. But I rebounded nicely. I went 4-2. Lost one close one. But yeah, just did really good. Guys like Keenan Allen finally came through for me, like we said he finally would.
Yeah.
And then my big guy, Matt Asiata, 3 touchdowns. We'll talk more about him in just a bit.
Yeah.
Had a couple of big weeks, a couple of guys I put in those Eddie Royals, the 1-week wonders. I'm just getting lucky that I put them in the week they go nuts. Let's talk about some hits and misses, Coach, and I'm going to talk about a guy that led me to one of the high scores of my leagues, Lamar Miller. We were pretty dead on last week about him.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Miller, he last week he did all right.
All right, Coach. 2 touchdowns from the Miami offense. That's better than all right.
I mean, sorry, I confused weeks for a second. That's why I was like, Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller had a day last week. He finally showed like he had some talent. I know you and me think he's garbage, but for once, with Moreno being out, he's actually looking like a back I might even want to try to trade for or try to get on my team. He's looking like he's finally coming through and being he's not the rookie that he used to be, fumbling the ball, not playing confident. He looks like a pretty good running back out there in Miami. Helps when you play Oakland, though.
All those Lamar Miller fans out there, all those Lamar Miller fans, should they be worried about no Sean, or will Lamar have a role going forward?
I mean, if you have Lamar Miller in Miami, as you can see, Coach Philbin's not too loyal even with his quarterback. I think you ride the hot hand in a team that's got like a roller coaster type offense. 1 week they're putting up 30 points, other weeks they're putting up 10, 15 area. I think if you have Lamar Miller, you roll with it. And you worry about no Sean Moreno when he's healthy. Until then, keep playing him. Just like Niall Davis and Jamal Charles in the sense, if Jamal Charles is down, you play Niall, right? You play Lamar until otherwise noted, I think.
All right, Coach. Also, we're pretty dead on about Matt Asiata. We said the ass man is going to be a somewhat productive guy. 3 touchdowns last week. He's getting the job done. Solid RB2. You worried about McKinnon going forward or what?
McKinnon's obviously, I think, the better talent. He's still a rookie, though. And watching last night's game, he didn't look that great. Asiata, it was a good Green Bay defense in the rain, short week. I don't really like running backs on Thursday nights usually, even though Lacey looked great. But Asiata, he was getting the ball first down. He was getting the ball third down, long or short. He was catching some balls, or at least attempting to, out the backfield. Fourth quarter, it's 42-0. He's still playing. Minnesota likes him, and I can see why he lost 20 pounds during the offseason. I like him moving forward. I'm not too worried about McKinnon, but there'll definitely be some games where he vultures for sure, I think.
McKinnon's definitely the guy where if they're down, they're throwing the ball. Matt Asiata's on the bench. McKinnon's in the game. So if Minnesota's facing a high-powered offense and feel like they're going to get blown out, that's a good game to start McKinnon, especially in those PPR games. And
in keeper leagues, too, I go McKinnon over Asiata, too. I think in the future he's got a brighter future. But otherwise, for right now, short-term, Asiata, I'm with you.
I agree, Coach. How about nice to see Lacey, by the way, finally do his thing, looking like a power back that he should. Bernard Pierce looked awful. In fact, he didn't look awful because he wasn't even on the field, Coach. He dressed, but he didn't even play. What's the deal? Is he even worth a roster spot?
I've been saying this for 2 weeks now. I don't believe in Bernard Pierce. He's not good. He's not as talented as those other 2 running backs. Justin Forsett is getting reincarnated this year. If it's a passing down, he's the back. And Lorenzo Taliafiero, Jim Harbaugh said it best, without trying to cause controversy in the locker room, he's like, if he keeps producing the way he is, would you bench him? The answer is easy. No. 2 weeks in a row, 15-plus catches, 80-plus yards, and a touchdown against a weaker Indy defense. Every game Indy's been in pretty much, they've been having a shootout or allowing a bunch of points and losing big. I like Lorenzo. My personal order would be Taliafiero, Forsett, and then Pierce. Actually, I don't like it.
I can't disagree with you, Coach. After watching that game, I mean, Forsett and Talafiero both looked pretty good. All right, guy, we were a little bit off about Steve Smith. He had a monster game against his old team, Carolina. Looked like he was trying to prove a point, Coach. One of those touchdowns was a tip pass touchdown, completely fluky. Minus that, though, we still had a pretty good game. What do you think, Coach? You getting a headache over this or what?
Steve Smith gives me a headache, man. I told you last week I buy this guy. I told you not to trade him. He's going to have a good year. He's top 5 in yards a game for receivers. But I did say pretty adamantly, due to his emotional transgressions over the years and his reputation, and Carolina coming after him a bit. There's been a little bad blood in terms of some noise, off the field and things like that. But he tore it up. He absolutely tore it up. I was wrong. I am sorry. I haven't seen somebody this wrong since you were with Antonio Gates. I want to let you know, in my 0-4 league, I was up 25-0 up the first half hour of the games. And I wasn't home. I got home at that time, and the first play I saw was that tipped touchdown. It was downhill from there.
That's awful, Coach. Yeah, I like Steve Smith going forward. I mean, we said that last week. We just didn't like him against Carolina. Oops, yeah. My bad. You had Steve Smith, though. You were probably playing him last week. I would have been. There were very few players that would have benched him for last week. We just had no idea he was going to go off. Start him, sit him this week, Coach. Who are you feeling? Start him, sit him. Let's start with you. Who do you like at wide receiver this week, Coach?
I'm a big believer in the New York Giants Atlanta Falcons game. This is going to be a shootout. You start your Falcons anyway, but any type of Giants as well, start them too. But if I had to pick one player, I'm going to go with Roddy White for me. He can't catch dollar bills on Hard Knocks, but he's going to catch at least one touchdown and go off this week. In the 3 weeks Roddy's played, he was out 1 week with an injury, but in 2 out of the 3 weeks he's played, he's gone for 70+, 4 catches or more, and a touchdown. I think the Giants like taking away their opponent's best option, which of course is Julio, none other but Julio Jones. I think Roddy White finds the end zone again, and he guaranteed it yesterday morning. I don't know if you heard. But
I did hear that, Coach. I did hear that. Also, I just found out today Harry Douglas, inactive, will not play. So that's great news for Roddy White owners, especially in those PPR leagues. He's gonna go bananas. Also, here I have a little sneaky play at wide receiver this week. I think you can strongly consider monitor this guy's injury status. Marcus Wheaton from Pittsburgh. They're gonna blow out Jacksonville. Jacksonville lets up not only a lot of receivers to number ones, but number two. Don't forget Eddie Royal. San Diego's number 2 had a monster game against the Jaguars. All wide receivers are destroying the Jags, but especially the wide receiver 2 position. So I'd look for Marcus Wheaton. Monitor his injury status, though. Make sure that he's definitely playing if he is. There's a lot of guys that start him over this week. How about the quarterback position, Coach? Who are you liking this week?
Quarterbacks right now, if you drafted guys like Tom Brady or Cam Newton or you just don't like your quarterback's on a bye. You could do a lot worse than this name, and that name is Eli Manning.
Look, no, Coach, you can't do it. Can't say it.
I have to. I know he blew up last week, and I'm not saying he's going to have 5 touchdowns for you again. But in the last 2 or 3 weeks, it looks like the offensive woes with the new system is now starting to click like a well-oiled machine. He's finding Cruz. He's finding Danell, which is one of his favorite targets in the red zone now. And if you haven't been watching, since Ahmad Bradshaw's left, don't get me wrong, Rashard Jennings is a back that I love. He's an RB1, no doubt about it. But they're throwing the ball in the red zone more than they're running it. And that means more potential points for Eli Manning against a weak Atlanta Falcons defense. When you're getting called out on your defensive coordinator by week 4, that's never a good thing. So, maybe I'm saying this because I'm a Cam Newton owner, and he's been frustrating the hell out of me. I just need a change. And I believe in Eli Manning. I can't believe I'm saying it. Good God, take it away.
Eli Manning is like the mystery grinder, okay, at like a gas station truck stop. It's like you don't know how long it's been there. It's like, is it fresh? Probably not. I'm really hungry though. Should I buy it? You buy it every 1 in 5 times. It's a pretty good grinder. But the other 4 out of 5 times, Coach, it's pretty awful.
I know.
Mystery grinder, and that's what Eli Manning is. You can't. Oh, my gosh. He always does this every year. He has one game. If his last name was anything besides Manning, he wouldn't have a job.
I agree with you.
His last name is Manning.
I'm not saying this is a long-haul thing. I am telling you that this week, he's a guy you want to play. He looked good on Thursday. He looked good the week before that against a good Houston defense in Houston. Victor Cruz, after saying things to the public, is getting the ball and making plays. He just got the rookie out of LSU, Beckham, back playing this week. I just have a good feeling about it. But, hey, I'm not always right. We'll find out, won't we?
Odell Beckham's kind of like the mystery grinder too. It's like everyone, but he's not really like the mystery grinder. He's like a taquito. Like everyone says nice things about him, but you've never had it. You know, it's just like what is this? I've never had this taquito at 7-Eleven. Is it good? You know, I don't know.
I've had a taquito. It's stupendous. So you're missing out.
Here's a quarterback I'd rather start than Eli Manning, and this guy's been a savior for many fantasy owners from here on out. Big Ben Roethlisberger. He had a monster game last week. I like him this week a lot against the Jags. This guy's been a savior for a lot of fantasy owners, especially those who wait on quarterback, which I suggest from here on forward. I think this is a great year as an example. Wait on quarterback. No reason to go bananas early. Wait on quarterback. A guy like Ben Roethlisberger in the 9th, 10th round can do it for you. It happens every year. Phillip Rivers. Come on, Jay Cutler. Roll with these guys. They get the job done. Wait in your draft. Big Ben Roethlisberger, he had a monster game, back-to-back monster games. Look for him to have a monster game against the Jags. What do you think, Coach? Big Ben?
No doubt about it. You're playing at versus Jacksonville. You start your quarterbacks, your running backs, your wide receivers, your fullbacks, your third-string quarterback, your water boy. It's Jacksonville. Go in, all day.
Coach, would you start him over our next guy, Andy Dalton? Same division. Would you start him over Andy Dalton this week?
You know, Andy Dalton's a late play. I don't think he can go wrong. I think the Patriots' defense is better than it was on Monday night. You know, I'm not saying it's the best defense in the world, but they're getting Browner back. They just got embarrassed. Bill Belichick does not get embarrassed 2 weeks in a row, let alone lose 2 weeks in a row. I think a loss might happen here, though. I'm sorry to say. But I think if it were me, I'd play Big Ben slightly over Andy Dalton. But Andy Dalton potentially is also getting one of his favorite red zone guys back in Marvin Jones, a guy that I think is very talented and should have a breakout year if he is as healthy as they're saying. But barely, I go Big Ben over Big Red Rifle.
I wouldn't. Not to make you look bad, Coach. Marvin Jones might not play actually this week. He re-aggravated an injury, so it might not actually play this week. Good for fantasy owners to know, though. Those Sanu owners, there might be a sneaky play this week. I wouldn't start Sanu, and I wouldn't start anybody from Cincy not named Gio Bernard, Jeremy Hill, or AJ Green. I'll tell you why. Coach, if you were to guess which team is number one against fantasy wide receivers this year, the New England Patriots. Who would have guessed? They're awful against the run. They're good against the pass. Andy Dalton, I think, is going to struggle. This game's in Gillette. I think this is just typical NFL. Pats lose a big one. They're going to be dogs at home. I think they're going to beat Cincy. I think this is going to be a close game. Not liking Andy Dalton as a fantasy QB this week, though, Coach.
I wouldn't disagree with you. That's a good point. But before we move on, I was going to say who the Patriots played. Kansas City's wide receivers, Oakland's wide receivers, and Minnesota's wide receivers. So kind of skewed, but I do believe in the Patriots' defense more than their offense, for sure. They do have a good defense, just didn't show up on Monday. But, hey, like you said, I wouldn't doubt if they had a good game and maybe even pull the upset off.
Fair point, Coach. Fair point. I like it. You're coming back at me with the stats. I like it. All right, so start Big Ben over Andy Dalton. How about Cam Newton? You mentioned he's kind of disappointing fantasy owners this year. You start Big Ben over Cam Newton?
I'm biased here. I'm a Cam Newton owner, and he hasn't played terrible, but he's not getting the expectation level that I'd like. This is a good matchup for him. I sit him, though. The Panthers' D's not helping him. They've allowed 37 and 38 points in the last 2 games. Their running game is not there with the running backs and with Cam himself. You drafted Cam for him to run the ball. Yeah, sure, Kelvin Benjamin's been there and saving some games late with some long catches for touchdowns. Greg Olsen's been old reliable as usual. But, if you're a Cam owner like I am, you're frustrated. And Big Ben, that's just a salivating matchup. I think it's going to be a top 6, 8 guy this week at the QB position. I think you bench Cam Newton this week, even though it's against the Chicago Bears defense, which is probably the best matchup he's had yet.
Coach, I agree with you. I'm benching Cam Newton in a lot of my leagues. I think there's a good amount of people I'd start over Cam Newton this week. I'm not liking his matchup at all. Let's go one more position. Let's talk about the running back position. Montee Ball, just coming off a bye week, facing the tough Arizona defense, though, Coach. What do you like? Would you start him this week or what?
It's a good start. I think Arizona is obviously a great defense, but Montee Ball has coming off a bye week. He hasn't looked or lived up to his draft day potential. Most leagues he's going first round, second round, maybe some to the third. But he hasn't. But you know what? Which running back has been? It's been, again, one of those years where Guys in the first 2 rounds really haven't stepped up at that position. But I do like the play. If it were up to me, I like the guy on the other end of the field, and Andre Ellington coming off a bye and playing against the Denver defense. So not a bad play, but probably for me a lower end RB2.
I'm a fan of Andre Ellington. Actually, I'm going to tell you what. I think Montee Ball is going to struggle this week, but I think he's a guy you really want to target after this week to trade for. This guy is going to trip and he's going to struggle this week. I think he's a low-end RB2, like a flex play this week. You can't not start a Denver starter offensive player. You just can't do it. In fact, Arizona's let up less than 15 points in standard leagues against running backs, and it's been good running backs. We're talking about Rashad Jennings, Ryan Matthews, Frank Gore. Good RB2s. Montee Ball kind of falls in that category as well. I think he's going to struggle this week. I don't think you can sit him, though, just because of how explosive that offense is. He gets to the one, he's just going to trip and fall into the end zone. That's what Montee Ball – that's what all Peyton Manning running backs do. They're just going to be good. But I think he's going to struggle this week. If he does not score a touchdown, which I think is a decent chance, I would trade to get him this week. He's going to have a monster season going forward. What do you think, Coach?
I agree. And you know what? You might not think about this, but with the slot receiver back in the scheme, with Wes Welker coming back, those linebackers are going to be moving a little bit more than they're comfortable with, which might, if the linemen are blocking well, it's going to open up some bigger lanes for Montee Ball, which he didn't really have before when Peyton was really just attacking the outside with Demarius, Julius, and Emmanuel Sanders too. So I think I'm agreeing with you, Andy. It might not be the best week for him, AC, but moving forward, good trade commodity.
100%. Montee Ball is definitely going to be a good buy low guy. Good transition, Coach, into our next segment. Buy low, sell high. Let's throw out 3 names out there. Larry Danell, monster 3-touchdown game. His stock couldn't be higher. Do you sell him high or do you keep him on your roster? What do you think?
This is a guy I went to go get last week in the my waiver wire. And at the last second, I decided not to, and I stayed with Zach Ertz, a guy that I believe in since week 1. And it's one of those moments where you're like, coulda, woulda, shoulda. You know? And it was going against my boys, too, in the Niners, and I still went with Zach Ertz. But, it's one of those coulda, woulda, shouldas. I'm not going to go back and say I would have done this, could have done that. But I think Larry Danell, since week 1, he's been getting the red zone targets. If you watch the Detroit game, he caught a touchdown pass, dropped one, and one went right over his head. So Eli, again, he's looking for him in the red zone. Because who else is he going to throw to? Victor Cruz is all right, but he's getting covered. Ruben Randall, he's been inconsistent. Donnell is showing that he's got good hands, good speed, good strength. I think he's a guy you buy, and while you can, buy at a reasonable price.
I like trading high. I really do. I think his stock couldn't be higher.
True.
That being said, I think this guy is the waiver wire pickup of the year. He's this year's Julius Thomas, and you mentioned one reason why, and I think there's 3 good reasons why you have to keep him on your roster. Don't sell him right now unless you're getting something absolutely ridiculous. There's 3 good reasons why. One, like you said, the targets. The targets are there every game, Coach. Touchdowns are fluky, targets are not. In every game, he's getting the targets. He doesn't get those 3 target games. He's getting over 5 targets a game, Coach. You can't ignore that. Number 2, he's a huge body. He's hands down their biggest receiver, and he's always there in the red zone. He's a huge guy. He's going to be Eli Manning's safety blanket. You got to roll with him. And here's number 3. He's an every down back. He's a great blocker. So he's going to be there on those 3rd and 1s. He's going to be there on the 2 and 5. He's going to be playing every down. There's no one else really that they're going to go to. He's an every down tight end, which actually doesn't happen a lot. Guys like Travis Kelce, he's not an every down tight end. He's a great talent, not an every down tight end. Gronkowski, same thing, not an every down tight end. Larry Danell is an every down tight end. You got to keep him.
And I'll give you a 4th reason. NFC East, Washington twice, Philly twice, Dallas twice. Not the best defenses.
Coach, I like that strategy. I roll with that strategy, and when drafting quarterbacks, I try to go with guys who are facing those multiple times. I like it. Fortunately, RG3 didn't work out for me. All right, let's talk about quarterbacks, though. Tommy Touchdown. Tommy Touchdown. His stock couldn't be lower, Coach. Do you just roll with this guy and keep him? Do you keep him as your QB2, or do you do the unthinkable and drop Touchdown Tommy?
Joe Montana got old, Dan Marino got old, Brett Favre got old, Tom Brady's there. There's no line. Josh McDaniels, they're playing 3 wide receivers, one of which didn't get a target Danny Amendola didn't get a target. They have no faith in their offense. It's shining through. I'm not saying they're going to be as bad as they were Monday. I'm not one of those people that's overreacting to one game. But this isn't one game. It's been a steady decline, really from the tail end of last season even. And yes, there were injuries before and things like that. But TB12, who's close to my heart, I'm not a New England fan, but I'm a Michigan Wolverine fan, and he was a stud back in college. Still is a stud. But Hall of Famer, time hit the waiver wire. Maybe on your bench for now, you never know. But not somebody that you can even consider starting. I'd rather start guys
Coach,
like...
I'm going to go with you this way. I wouldn't start him, but I'm not going to drop him. I'm not going to drop him just because of his potential. And all it takes is one good week, and someone's going to want Tommy touchdown, and they're going to trade to get him. So you got to keep him. He's too big of a name. This is a guy who has trade value no matter what he's doing, just because of his name. There's going to be that Pats fan in your league.
Yep.
He's going to have a good week, and he's going to be like, I want to buy Tommy. When you get a chance to sell him, do it. But don't drop him. I don't think he's worth dropping. There's got to be another guy you can drop. I mean, I just can't consciously say drop Tom Brady. But, yeah, I agree, don't start him. I wouldn't start him, Coach. How about this is a question we're getting a lot, Coach. You probably have too. Hopefully you don't have this decision in a lot of leagues. LeSean McCoy. Do you sell him while the stock couldn't be lower? Or do you hold on to him and hope for the best? When is enough, Coach?
I'm going to keep this short and sweet. You don't want to mess with Shady. He's a great player, great talent. Yes, he didn't get a single touch at the end of a game when they're on the 2-yard line in the red zone when they're down 5 against San Fran. But that's because of the San Fran defense. I'm not being biased there. They were shutting down Sproles, McCoy, and Chris Polk when he got a carry or two in the game. And they've been doing that all season. Their run defense is still there, not their pass defense. Having said all that, small sample size. You got McCoy in the first pick, maybe second pick. You're not going to trade him because you're not going to get the value for it. You're going to give another team a stud late in the season. Roll with Shady. If you don't want to play him, bench him. I don't think you're the most intelligent person for doing that. Believe in Shady. He's going to be back soon.
And, Coach, here's another thing, and you kind of mentioned about this. The cool thing about drafting those guys in the NFC East is they get to play those NFC East defenses 6 times, and they've only faced Washington once. So week 17 they're facing the Giants, but you're still getting 4 quality matchups. He's got a tough one against Arizona, but besides that, and he's got another tough one week 14 against Seattle. Besides that, he's got a really good schedule, Coach. I like him going forward, and I'm not a fan of trading low. I am not a fan of trading low at all. You got him. You picked him early. You got to ride with him. Unless someone's giving you first-round value for him, I really wouldn't trade him. I really would just hold on to him. Coach, really quickly, let's talk about Survivor. Who do you like this week in Survivor?
I'm kicking my feet back. I am all set because I picked Green Bay this week, and they torched Minnesota. But I won't brag. I'll keep it short. I'm good. But if you need somebody for Sunday or Monday, I think you go with the Philly Rivers and those San Diego Chargers. They're going to be playing at home against the New York Jets, which got a great front 7. But San Diego doesn't run the ball. They have nobody back there right now other than Oliver and Brown. They're throwing it, and against the Jets, they're going to be throwing it and scoring. I'd say go Chargers go this week.
I like the Chargers pick, Coach. I feel like a lot of teams might have already used them. I think there's ever going to be week to choose Pittsburgh. This is the week. I think they're coming off a couple of momentum. Jacksonville just looks awful. I think if you can't use Chargers, I'd feel a little confident with Pittsburgh. Possibly maybe even go Indy playing at home against Baltimore. Andrew Luck just is on fire. He's just he's playing like the best quarterback in the league right now. He's definitely the future. So Chargers definitely, if you haven't used them yet, maybe Pittsburgh or Indy as well. Before we do some fan questions, Coach, sleeper of the week. Who do you like in this week as a sleeper?
And I told you to start the water boy for Pittsburgh. So start your backup running back. LeGarrette Blount, he's going to get carries. Le'Veon Bell, they're not going to risk injury. They're going to be up big. He's going to score some garbage time points for you. I'm not saying he's going to go off for 102 touchdowns or anything, but hey, if you need a flex player that's going to maybe get you 70 yards and fall in for a touchdown, LeGarrette Blount, you could do much worse.
I'm actually trying to get LeGarrette Blount in the league. I'm desperate at running back. I'm trying to see what I can get him just for this week. I got Matthews and Ingram hurt, coming back in a couple of weeks. I needed an emergency fill-in. I really like this guy, Coach. I want to hear your opinion on this. Devin Hester versus the Giants. Couple of reasons why I like him. Number one, like I already mentioned, Harry Douglas will not play. So that's Devin Hester's wide receiver 3 role in Atlanta that clearly loves to pass the ball. Number two, New York Giants are really weak special teams, especially against kick returners. In the past, and they let up a lot of yards in the kick return game. I could easily see Devin Hester taking one of these to the house. And here's number 3, Coach. They are really relying on him, especially that bubble screen Atlanta loves to do, where they just kind of drop back, throw that route, and let him run. He's an explosive player. He's got take it to the house speed every time he touches the ball. I like Devin Hester. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I got Mike Wallace in my PPR league on a bye week. I'm starting Devin Hester in his place over a guy like Allen Hurns. What do you think?
You know, I told you at the top of the show, start your Giants, start your Falcons. If you got Devin Hester, you probably picked him up off the waiver wire this week or even the week before. He's a guy that's going to get touches. Mike Smith has said he wants him to get more touches. He's earned it. Yes, he's in his mid-30s or early to mid-30s, but he's looking fast. He's looking rejuvenated. I think he's trying to get that ring. He's going after it. He's got the kick return title. And against the Giants, you never know what you're going to get. You might get ghosts on that special team. So not a bad play. I think I would question it from time to time, but I think if you're going to play him and you got him, this is the week to play him.
Especially if your league allows return yards, I really
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Coach, let's answer some fan mail. We got 3 questions here. First one's from a former fantasy host that I used to do, Scotty Fortune. He asked, 14-team league, would you trade Justin Forsett and Dwayne Bowe or Wes Welker for Keenan Allen? Would you trade 2 of those, Forsett and Dwayne Bowe or Wes Welker, for Keenan Allen? Would you do that, Coach?
I mean, it depends on the situation. In general, though, I believe in you want the best player in that draft. And Dwayne Bowe, in that trade, I'm sorry. Dwayne Bowe's not a guy I believe in. He's a good, talented player, but in that system, it's been years now, he's not showing up. Wes Welker, you know, he's one shot away from being out for a few more weeks. And I'll be honest with you, I can't remember the running back you said anymore because Keenan Allen is a stud, and he showed it last week. I think Phillip Rivers has a monster week this week again. Playing against the Jets like we talked about. I think you make that trade easily for Keenan Allen. He's a low-end number one.
I think it's a no-brainer. Rivers is playing fantastic. I would rather have I'd rather have Welker than Bowe going forward, especially since Welker already had his bye week, and Peyton Manning's offense is just so explosive, and Alex Smith is awful. I would do Bowe and Forsett over Forsett and Welker. Either way, I would still do the trade, though. I maybe you're starting Forsett. I would like to see who you're placing, but either way, Keenan Allen's just too good, and you got to start. You got to do that trade. How about this one, Coach?
Great, 2 things. I love Talafiero and I love Alex Smith. So
yeah. Coach, we got a question from California. Matt Woodecki asks, flex question, Marquise Colson versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers or Jordan Cameron versus Tennessee. I also have Allen Hurns riding the pine. Which one of those 3 would you start? PPR league. What do you think, Coach?
That's a tough one. I think I'd bench Jordan Cameron. I'm going to bench him until he shows me something this year. It just doesn't seem like he's healthy or quick or there's something there. Marcus Colston is a guy that is a hide-and-seek player. You know, week 1, he looked great. If you drafted him, you got good value at 5 catches for 110 yards, and you were excited. Didn't have a target the next week. So I think it's a toss-up between Hurns and Marcus Colston. Personally, I think I go with Colston by a hair because he's playing Tampa Bay in New Orleans after a loss. And right now, statistically, Tampa Bay is the worst pass defense in the NFL, worse than the Jets. I think you go Marcus Colston and hope for a long touchdown.
I like it, Coach. I like it a lot. I definitely would do Colston over those. Tampa Bay's Buccaneer, their secondary is pretty bad, pretty awful. I mean, look at the Atlanta game. And I don't know about you, Coach, but I feel like Drew Brees is just waiting to have that monster Drew Brees game, and I think this is the game. They're in New Orleans this game, I believe, Coach?
Yeah.
Are they at Tampa, or are they?
No, at New Orleans. At New Orleans.
Where's that Drew Brees monster game? It's got to come out, right, Coach?
They've had 3 of the first 4 games were on the road. This might be the one. So.
Yeah, and Saints are a completely different team on the road than they are at home. Roll with Colson, Matt. Last question, Jody from New Jersey My boy Jody, he has two questions. Drew Brees against Tampa. We were just talking about him. Russell Wilson at Washington Monday night game. Which one of those two do you like, Coach?
Ooh, that's actually that's a good question. Um, the fantasy player in me, we just talked about Drew Brees, so I won't be repetitive. How can you bench him? You drafted him in round 1 or 2. I think you have to play him. But the gambler in me, Monday, is there anything better, AC, than beating somebody with a Monday night player? I honestly, if I was playing that,
is if you beat him by less than a point. If you beat him by a fraction of the point because of some nothing play at the end, that's like the best feeling in fantasy football.
It is. So Jody, if you're playing that guy in your league that you just love crushing or beating or playing, go Russell Wilson, wild card it. In general, Drew Brees is the play. Drew Brees is the play. You can't bench it.
You can't bench Drew Brees. Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and now I guess I throw Andy Luck now. You can't bench any of those guys. You can't. You start your stars. I'm sticking with my guns. You start your stars.
What you do is you put in Russell Wilson right now until Sunday.
Yes. Ultimate tease. He had one more question, tight end question. Travis Kelce from the Chiefs facing San Francisco, your Niners, or Jordan Cameron against Tennessee. Who do you like?
Whew. So Kelce is the guy I want for the season. Definitely over Cameron. He looks like baby Gronk. He looked great on Monday night, and even before then, if you've been watching the Chiefs play, he's getting more and more snaps each and every week, and he is a dynamic tight end. Great hands, great speed. However, the Niners, maybe I'm being biased, they shut down tight ends. Tight ends don't do much against them. Zach Ertz did absolutely nothing. Martellus Bennett had his worst game of the season, which hasn't been bad all year against the Niners. I think I roll with Cameron here based on the matchup because Tennessee, they don't have the best defense. They have great corners, but not the best defense in the world. I think I roll the dice and go Cameron by a smidgen.
It's close, Coach, but I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. I know the Niners are great against the tight end. I believe they're top 5 against the tight end. They are, in fact, number 2 against the tight end this year. So tight ends aren't scoring a lot. That being said, Travis Kelce's just, in my opinion, minus Jamal Charles, their best offensive option. I like to call him Baby Gronk. I think it's going to start catching on. He's just a beast of a human. He's fast. He's got great hands. I really like him. They put him out on the post a little bit too. I like him a lot. I just got to go Kelce. We're going to disagree on this one, Coach. I'm going to say what you said earlier. Jordan Cameron, show me something, and then I'll start. He hasn't showed me anything yet. So, Jody, we're split on that one. Go Breeze for sure, and then either Kelce or Cameron, whoever you like more. I'd go Kelce. Coach is going to go Cameron. But we're split on that. Coach, that's going to wrap it up for week 5 of the Fantasy Life. How about you throw a bold prediction at us before we end today's show?
Phillip Rivers is going to hang the Gents defense out to dry. 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns from Phillip Rivers, 1 to Keenan, 2 to Royal, and 2 to Malcolm Floyd. And on top of that, Andre Johnson, who never scores, gets his first touchdown this season this week.
Coach, no love for Antonio Gates yet again. Kind of amazing, Coach. Kind of amazing. Here's my bold prediction. It's more of a hopeful prediction because I'm forced to start this guy. Roy Halou will outscore Alfred Morris in PPR leagues. Roy Halou will outscore Alfred Morris. I think that Washington game is going to get out of hand. I think Seattle's going to take a lead. Roy Halou gets all of the passing work, Coach. You heard it here first on the Fantasy Life, Coach. Coach, that's going to do it. We're going to be back next week. Good luck this week, Coach. Good luck everyone out there watching, too. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for sending those messages every week. I'm the big AC, that good-looking guy with the tie that's not quite straight. It's Coach Chris Dacosta.
It's loosened up. It's Friday.
It's a little loosened up. It's Friday. All right. We'll see you next week, guys. Thank you so much for joining in on the Fantasy Life. Good luck on the Fantasy Gridiron.